going back to something that we kind of tipped my hand at, that Florida State and LSU game. If you don't remember, that was my official inaugural. Is that a word? Inaugural. There we go. Now we got it. College Shame Day game of the week. Number 8 FSU going up against number 5 LSU, and boy, was that fun to watch. I mean, it was a little rocky going into that second half, going into halftime. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, but FSU came back out just guns a-blazing, just completely making Brian Kelly and his little comments look very silly. With that win, Florida State jumps up 4 spots to number 4. LSU, with that loss, drops down 9 spots to 14. Do you think LSU is going to be able to kind of, I hate to use the term, no pun intended, claw their way back up the rankings after that loss?
I think they looked good enough. Jaden Daniels is fun, and he looks like he looks like a strong enough quarterback. I think they'll get back up there, but I think that's a hard loss. It wasn't like if they had just lost close, sure, it wouldn't be as bad, but
right.
Damn, they got their ass beat in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, of course, people close to me understand my thoughts on Brian Kelly and the Brian Kelly effect and how it plays out into these teams that he coaches, but it doesn't shock me. But no, I think you're 100% correct. I think with that being such a substantial loss, it's going to mean a lot more than what the loss was last year, where they only lost by a point. I think it's going to play out a lot further down the road, especially when you look at their schedule. I mean, their schedule is not easy by any means. Of course, they come back next week at home opener against Grambling. That should be a get-right game. But then they're on the road at Mississippi State, which could be a very squeaky get-away from them game. They're at home against Arkansas, which people are sleeping on. That Arkansas team is very talented. I would not be shocked if LSU drops there. And then they're on the road back-to-back against Ole Miss, Missouri. They're back at home against Auburn. But then they have that late season game at Alabama. I think if Alabama is keeping the steam right now and they're undefeated by that game, I would be very nervous if I'm Brian Kelly and that LSU team going to that kind of environment. And because by that point, all you're giving at Alabama team is swagger and confidence. And if there's one coach you don't want to play with when he has that swagger, it's Nick Saban.
I saw him wearing the rocking the Crimson Tide suit. He brought it back out for the Pat McAfee show appearance for Saban Thursdays, apparently.
Oh, my God. But that was last week. Let's look forward to this week. We're on the topic of Nick Saban and Alabama, and that's where College Shame Day's Week 2 Game of the Week is heading. Number 11, Texas is on the road at number 3, Alabama. I don't think this is a question in anybody's mind. This is the game of the week across the board. I mean, you have Texas going on the road. You got quarterback Quinn Ewers. I think what he needs to do is just attack early and do not let up on that gas. I think Alabama still has a good amount of question marks. I know their secondary is pretty stout. Their offense is kind of suspect right now with some, you got Jalen Milroe. He's back there, the new starting quarterback for Alabama. But I think it's really important for that Texas defense to get after him and force those mistakes that he's going to be inevitably be making at this point. And then for Alabama, like I said, if Quinn Ewers needs to attack that defense needs to step it up, neutralize those wide receivers that Texas has. I mean, they're having a couple identity issues at running back right now, but they got that 3-headed monster on the outside in their wide receiver core with Worthy, Mitchell, and Whittington. I'm very scared of them. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to have his hands filled with those. I think being able to try to force some turnovers, that's a big, big key. And getting off that field, I don't see this Alabama defense being able to hang in the game with that high-powered Texas offense if they can't get off the field. If they're going these long, drawn-out drives, they're getting winded by the second half, it's only going to get worse. But there is good news for Alabama fans, and that's Nick Saban is 28-2 versus former assistant coaches. And if those of you who don't know, Steve Sarkisian, the head coach for Texas, he was an assistant coach for Nick Saban for a couple years. He got hired on in 2016 and then left in 2017 for the Falcons OC job after your boy Shanahan left to go to the 49ers. And then after his little stint in the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL, he came back for 2019 to 2021 when he took over the Texas head coaching job, but he still was on that 2020 national title team. He's been around the game for a long time. He's really smart. He knows what he's doing. But it's hard to bet against that record in Saban with 28-2 against his former coaches.
I feel like everybody's been a former assistant coach for Nick Saban. I think I was a former assistant coach for Nick Saban.
I think Nick Saban's college coaching tree in college is reminiscent of like Bill Parcells in the NFL. Everybody ends up, if you actually look at that list of all the head coaches right now in the FBS that were assistant coaches for Nick Saban, it is wild. It's way too many for me to just rattle off the top of my head. I'll let you guys go do the homework and just look at it if you're just kind of interested. But that is the game of the week this week. Just a reminder, number 11, Texas at number 3, Alabama. It's going to be a doozy. I'm very excited for it. Of course, Florida State has Southern Miss at home, but I will be very interested to see what comes out of that Alabama game. And in lighter news, something that nobody really cares about, the lame of the week. Just to recap last week's Miami of Florida versus Miami of Ohio. Hey, Miami, Florida won 38-3. Whoop-de-doo. That's all the coverage you're getting. And then this week, an even worse game. Because if you want to see what bad football looks like, this is what you need to watch. It's a bad FCS team versus a bad FBS team. It's Tennessee Tech at New Mexico.
Woof.
Barn burner. No, thank you. Hard pass. Hard pass on that game.
That's where they pay you to watch.
Oh my! I would. It would be a lot of money, but I'll pull for Tennessee Tech. I'll pull for the quote unquote little guy on that one. But that is this week's lame of the week. Don't watch it. Don't tune in. Don't waste your time. Go mow the lawn. Go on a hike. Go do something productive. Don't waste your time. And to end the show, for those who are fans of the 323, understand that on the NFL side, we have something called the Calvin Ridley Memorial Betting Slip. I believe the name, a peek behind the curtain, may or may not be changing this year. Reed, can you confirm that?
It is.
Oh, you got muted. I guess we can't spoil it yet for him, right? Whoops. I guess you'll have to tune into The Hangover. Wow, I don't know what the name is, but Reed looks so excited. Wow. I know this is an audio medium, but folks, if you're watching this on the official 323 YouTube channel, check it out. You can just see the sheer excitement and over-the-topness of one Reid Murphy right now. All right, well, moving on. But something reminiscent of that I'm actually going to start bringing over to the College Shame Day is something that I like to call the Wheel of Degenerate. Because when you are dropping money week in and week out, trying to get those sweaty parlays in there, trying to do the big $5, $10 bet to win 81 and get heartbroken in the very last game like somebody we know and love. Sorry, Reed. It does bring a little bit of debauchery and a little bit of grossness to something that is holy and is very pure as college football. I know they have certain things that have behind closed doors in college football, but no, it's not the NFL. So I present to you, our visual audience, the College Shame Day Wheel of Debauchery. I have every game that includes a top 25 team. Yes, there are games in here that have multiple, like we talked about, Texas and Alabama. And then you also have Ole Miss and Tulane, who are both nationally ranked in the top 25. But here is where it's a little bit of fun. And this is where the random, you just embrace it for a little bit. I'm not picking these games, folks. I could, of course, take the high road and take the nice sure bets of, Ole Miss, Oregon versus Portland State like last week and blah, 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 blah. But this is where I let the fates decide. We're going to spin this wheel 5 times. I will build a $10 bet parlay on these 5 games. But I'm not going to do it live for you folks. Because if you want to see what this bet could net you, if you want to ride the bandwagon with me, Scott Ellia, you're going to have to go check out the now official 323 College Shame Day Instagram, because that is where the betting slip will be posted. That's the only place you're going to find it. So if you want to find it, search at 323 College Shame Day. Drop a like, subscribe, give me some feedback, and maybe you could be selected to partake in the Wheel of Debauchery in the future.
Yeah.
But Reid, let's get underway. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm
All
excited.
right. Let's give it a little spin.
Love a wheel.
All right. So the first game up for the inaugural Wheel of Degenerate betting slip, we have Utah at Baylor. Wow.
Ooh, interesting.
That's gonna be a game. I can tell you that right now. All right, let's remove them off the wheel, shall we? Boom. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Spin number 2. Just to remind you, got Utah at Baylor. This week, we got one of the ones that are kind of a layup.
Oh.
You got the Joe Flacco University himself in Delaware at Penn State. Man, I feel like that's kind of a layup. Fates, I don't like that. Give me one where I got to think a little bit. Let's go. Let's spin it again.
Say Delaware at Penn State. That's
Man.
Tough. You can do that.
Come on. Oh, the Fates are rewarding me on this one. Look at this.
There we go.
Game number 3 on the ticket. Southern Miss at Florida State. Man, now you're giving me some excitement. Now you're just teasing me. So just to recap, Utah at Baylor, Delaware at Penn State, and now Southern Miss at FSU. Game number 4 on the Wheel of Degenerate. Ooh, this is a squeaky game. Notre Dame at North Carolina State. We already talked about in length about Sam Hartman and what he's been able to produce out there in Notre Dame. I think North Carolina State is one of those very sneaky, talented teams out of the ACC. This could have huge implications as far as who could be vying for that title in the ACC, since Notre Dame, for those who don't know, play part-time in the ACC. Whoop-de-doo. Let's remove them. Enough Notre Dame top coverage. Last spin. Reid, what do you hope it's going to land on?
Give me something with Southeast Missouri State.
Southeast Missouri State. I'm calling for a redo.
Whoa.
I don't like Troy at Kansas State.
Hey,
what kind of game is that?
The Fates gave it to you.
You know, they gave it to me. I'm going to have to take it. But I don't have to like it.
Kansas State is minus 16.5.
Well, hey, you're giving them too much. If they want that information, they got to go to the official 323 College Shame Day Instagram page.
That's
where
right.
You can find the spreads, you can find the overs and unders, you can find my picks. Because I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to pick now.
Oh, that's right. Not for Notre Dame against NC State.
Yeah, I'm not telling you who they're going to get.
Not for Southern Miss FSU.
Nope, not even for Southern Miss FSU.
Not Delaware Penn State.
Nope.
Not even Utah Baylor.
Not even Utah Baylor. But you know what game that I will give you?
What?
I'm going to give you my pick for one of these remaining games. I'll give you a little bit of a taste, listening audience. Let's spin this wheel one more time. This won't be part of the betting slip officially, but I will give you my call right here, right now, live.
This one's going
based on the fate. And you couldn't ask for anything better than UC Davis at Oregon State. Wow. Go Beavers. Oregon State is going to show what they can do, just like Oregon did last week, and they're going to beat the brakes off UC Davis. Book it now. Throw on your weekly pay. Put your rent on it. Mortgage your house on it. Because it's a lock. Oregon State.